We're sort of one of the last places to do sort of proper hi-fi repairs, you know, and if you type in sort of vintage audio or second-hand hi-fi, we're pretty much the only people that come up in London, maybe in the country, I don't know. I mean, we do all sorts of stuff. There are certain things that we really like big old sort of tannoy speakers, big old Celestian speakers. There's a physicality about a big speaker that you can't, you know, manufacturers will say they can, but you can't sort of really represent that in a small, thin speaker. There's something about a sort of 10, 12-inch, 15-inch driver pushing a lot of air that is just impossible to replicate in a smaller speaker. These are the valve amps. They combine the best of sort of, you know, a modern build with also the best of sort of valve technology. And that's great because you get all that oomph of a really big, powerful amp, but that lovely smoothness of valves as well. Yeah, these sound great, and they will push big speakers like these tannoys as well. There's a thing with the old tannoys as well that they used what's called a dual concentric driver. It's a slightly nerdy part, but basically the tweeter is in the middle of the cone there. And what that gave you was a very focused, direct sound. Yeah, the other thing we found is a bit of a cassette revival at the moment as well. And with a lot of that stuff in mini disc, reel to reel, we seem to sell quite a lot of cassette decks to sort of music producers these days as well, and they almost use it as an effect, run it through the desk just to give it that sort of slight tape, you know, sound, or a bit of whine flutter or something like that. And then in here is sort of stock stuff, and a weave round here, which is sort of crazy prop stuff, which we're actually just kind of going through as well. You know, over the years we've just collected so much stuff, you know, maybe some of it doesn't work. We've got crazy old headphones and vintage radios and all sorts of stuff, and there's even vintage computers up here, lots of vintage hi-fi, games, consoles. We've got a whole sort of collection of vintage boom boxes, which are probably the most popular thing to hire out because they always look great. We're one of the few places in London that still repairs hi-fi. Because also we hate to see stuff go to landfill, and often people will say, you know, is it worth kind of fixing this Creek amp or this NAD amp or whatever? And most of the time we'll say yeah, because it will probably sound better than, you know, even if you spend 100 quid fixing it, it will sound better than the average sort of 100, 200 pound amp that you can buy these days. We've got all sorts of people that are connected with the shop as well. And probably Giles Peterson wouldn't mind us mentioning him. You know, he's got one of the best record collections in Europe probably, and maybe in the world, I don't know. And I can't remember who it was, one of his friends sort of said to him maybe 10, 15 years ago, you know, like, Giles, you've got to stop listening to this amazing collection on a beaten up old Technics with a terrible Stanton cartridge on it. Go and talk to Audio Gold.